Well, everybody, welcome to Red Tool House. On today's video, I want to address the question as why small farm products like pork and eggs and beef, while all of those things are more expensive on a small farm than they are on larger farms. And I want to answer this question in a way that'll help you if you have a small farm business or you're looking to start a small farm business, give you some answers when you hear those questions that come up. Why is your product so expensive? So let me feed the hungry sows and we'll get into this. So here at Red Tool House, we sell protein primarily as well as baked goods. We've offered eggs, pork, poultry, and we also offer beef and maple syrup from other farms. And through one of my son's baking efforts, the bakehouse, we sell breads, cookies, cakes, pies, etc. We sell all of our products online at our web store for local home deliveries. But at times we hear, I'd love to order some stuff from you, but it's just too expensive for me to afford. Usually I respond with, well, that's okay, I understand, instead of getting into trying to explain the situation. Well, sometimes the conversation goes a little deeper and may need to be an explanation as to why the prices on our farm are what they are. And the first thing I want to do is make sure that we're comparing apples to apples. So for example, if we're going to take eggs and somebody says, hey, your $5 a dozen eggs is way more expensive than the white, excuse me ladies, the white grade A large dozen eggs I can get at Walmart for less than $2. And to that I say, well, that's not really an apples to apples comparison. If we really wanted to compare something sold at Walmart, then we at least need to go to the pasture-raised egg options, which at the point of recording this video, their pasture-raised eggs are $6.12 a dozen, so $1.12 more expensive than mine. So that's usually the first question. Okay, are you comparing apples to apples when it comes to the product? Because there's a lot of variation in the quality of food that's available for sale, of course. There are times, however, where a direct comparison is done, and it is apples to apples. Maybe there's a larger farm that's producing pastured pork or pasture-raised eggs, and their prices are cheaper. So what's the answer to that, you ask? Well, it's really quite simple. It's scale. Scale really sets all of this. And I could end the video here and say, well, it's just that simple. It's all about scale, but that wouldn't be like us. Here at Red Tool House, we like to ramble on for minutes and minutes. So let's dive deeper into that. I got some key points about scale that I think it's important to talk about, and you can use that in your arsenal if you have these type of conversations. So the first point to make is that larger farms most likely have invested in infrastructure as they've scaled up in size, as they put more animals on pasture. They've invested in that infrastructure. So I'll use an example of feed handling. So here on our farm, I buy feed in 100-pound feed sacks for the ladies, and for any of the pigs on the property, of course. And I manually unload every single one of those feed sacks to store here on the property. So that takes a bit of time. It's effort, of course, to move all those sacks around, and we could be talking 6,000 pounds at times of the year. That requires a lot of labor and a lot of effort. So larger farms may have more mechanical ways of handling feed. So they could have large hoppers, they could have conveyors, they can have grain bins, grain wagons. There's all kinds of different ways that they've invested to move that feed around where it doesn't require as much time or as much physical labor. And due to the fact that I don't have a lot of feed storage opportunity because I don't want to keep a lot of feed here on the farm months after months after months, that I have to maneuver that feed, or I'm replacing that feed every other week, so I have to handle it that much. Whereas these larger farms, they have the ability to store that. So not only are they not handling it, but they're able to store more of it in bulk, and it'll last longer. They don't have to worry about spoilage because of the infrastructure investments they've made. So while there's really no arguing with that, one thing I do point out about my size and scale of the operation is there's some quality control that goes into that. I get to see every 100-pound of grain that goes to these animals. And since I also, not right now with the feed sow or with the breed group, but with my feeder groups, I soak and ferment that feed as well. So it provides better absorption, which gives me better feed conversion, and of course promotes better gut health for the pigs. So a healthier pig, of course, creates a tastier pig. So another point, and while we're on the topic of feed, is the economy of scale, the actual benefit of buying things at scale. So we talk about feed. When I buy a 100-pound feed sack, it costs me 16 cents a pound. So that's the price whether I buy one or whether I buy 60. That's the price I'm paying. Larger farms that can handle maneuvering bulk and buying in bulk, they may get tonnage discounts as they come in and say, hey, I'm going to be buying tens, if not hundreds of tons from you over the course of the season. Can we negotiate a better rate? And I'll come pick it up with a larger feed wagon or something like that, where it doesn't have to be packaged in 100-pound bags. They may go right under the hopper and whammo, they're loading 10 tons right there. Some farms, of course, get to the size where they just buy the raw ingredients they need to mix their feed, can store that in bulk, and then have grinders in their own mills on farm to be able to make their own feed. Now, you can do that at a smaller scale as well, and that would be an option for me to try to save a little bit of money, but it really comes back to storage and trying to keep that feed fresh when it's being stored before it's used. Well, another area where scale is beneficial, of course, is when it comes to labor. So something as simple as this, walking the fence line or just feeding the pigs, this is unskilled labor. And if you think about it, farm or any business, you have this varying degree of labor. You've got highly skilled, highly professional labor, and then you have basic menial labor. So coming down and pouring out feed for the hogs doesn't require a lot of skill. Checking the fence to see if there's any debris on it doesn't require a lot of skill. Now, if I had a bad ground or something and had to troubleshoot that, then that would possibly require more skill. Here on the small farm, though, I'm that guy across the board. So whether it's something that's highly skilled, like doing AI on the sows, or just simply unloading the feed from the truck, it's me regardless. But larger farms have the ability to outsource that. You know, if I had a bunch of teenagers standing around waiting to make some money, I could say, hey, here's $10 an hour, feed the pigs, unload the feed from the truck, do these type of things, and I can spend my time doing other stuff, making more money. Well, the last point I want to make about scale is probably the most important, and that is larger farms can handle tighter profit margins. The larger the farm, or should I say the larger the number of products that they have, the tighter their margins can be and still be profitable. And this is a very broad generalization, so bear with me on this, but let's give an example here. Let's say a commercial pig operation raises 30,000 head of hog in a season. So that's 6 to 8 month window, 30,000 head. And the cost they have in each head is $100. And they're able to turn around and sell every single one of those pigs, sell all 30,000 of them for $125. So that's a $25 profit margin. And that's not really, that profit margin is not a random number I've just pulled out of the air. According to pigbusiness.com, that was the average margin in 2023 in the pig industry, $25 a head. Now, if we took that same example and said, here at Red Tool House, the most I've ever produced in a season is 32 pigs. And if I had a $25 profit margin on 32 pigs, that's about $800 if I'm doing my high school math properly. There's no way I'm going to slug in the cold, the mud, the heat, the rain every day for 9 months for $800. It wouldn't make any sense. So I need profit margins that are much greater, in a sense where maybe with my feeder pigs, I'll have $250 to $300 in cost by the time that pig's ready to go to the processor. I need to sell that pig for $900 to $1,000 to be in the profit margin area that I feel is comfortable and makes it worthwhile doing all the work that we do. So am I advocating that to make a small farm successful, it has to be a big farm? No, I'm not saying that. You don't have to grow for growth's sake, and you don't have to grow just so you can be competitive. In fact, here are some reasons why I think a small farm is actually more beneficial, and I would make these key parts of my marketing, or at least my discussion with potential customers when they're asking, why is your pork chop so expensive and why should I buy it? Well, number one, on a small farm, you get personal care and direct attention to each animal. Where it's just me and as many as 32 hogs with daily contact, I still get to lay eyes on all 32 of those. Even if it was 5 of us here and we were raising 30,000 head, not going to be as easy to lay eyes on every single animal. so I can give that animal the personal care and attention it needs. I think that translates to people who want to buy better quality food, seeing that as one of the characteristics of better quality food. This animal was cared for. This animal had a great life. Ergo, this animal produces a better finished product. And along that same line, smaller business means a smaller customer base. And the less customer base you have and still be profitable, then the more time you get to spend with those customers, the more time you get to spend answering their questions, interacting with them. They get to know you, you get to know them. So there's more of a partnership that's developed there versus just a basic retail transaction. Another point that I think is really key and something that I enjoy here on the farm is a small farm can have a broader variety. And I'm not just talking about, well, we've got pigs and we've got chickens and we got beef, but even the variety within. We can say we've got some heritage breeds, or I've got egg-laying chickens that lay this type of egg and this type of egg, this color or that color. All of those type of things that just add variety and add value through that process. When you're dealing at scale, that 30,000 head pig operation, they really want those pigs to be all the same size, all the same temperament. That way they can control them, that way they can manage them, and they can provide the health care they need, and it be the same across the board. Another benefit with a small farm operation is the customer's custom requests can be managed and fielded. So we'll have times that people ask for very unique ways of having their pigs processed. They may not want any bacon smoked or cured because they're going to do it themselves. They want the pork belly. We can accommodate those at that smaller scale. And of course, there's that key intangible that your customer knows they're supporting a small local farm. And I think that goes a long way. And I think it's fine for us as farmers to underscore that, to say, hey, the food industrial system is broken. And supporting small local farms not only helps you, the farmer, but also helps the customers, giving options there, but even kind of helps the country having a fallback just in case we go through a situation like we did during the pandemic. Then I think that makes our country more secure. So if you have a small farm business or you're thinking about starting one, I beg you don't fall into the trap of setting your prices because you looked at Walmart or the local grocery store or even XYZ farm down the street that's been around for 20 years. Do your homework, do your due diligence to make sure that you're pricing your products to where you've got the margin you need to make it worth your while, and you continue to develop your farm and grow your farm as you want to. Don't just pick a number out of the air because that's what somebody else is selling that product for. But be ready to explain yourself if somebody asks, well, how come your pork chop is 20% more expensive than that guy's pork chop? Well, if you want to hear more, get really deep into the nitty-gritty details of how to price your farm products, I actually did a full detailed episode on our podcast, our Pastured Pig podcast, on our Patreon page, where it went into detail about how to set margins, how to look at some of those things, kind of got into the nerdy side of it. And I'll provide a link below in the video description so you can check that out if you're interested. Well, pigs are fed, my hands are freezing, and I'm going to get down the road. If you're watching this video the day it was released, then Lord willing, I'm on my way to Arizona. And like I said, we'll have a video coming soon of detailing that property out there. It's going to be really fun. Looking forward to it. 6,800 feet in elevation in northern Arizona high desert. Sounds exciting. All right, I pray y'all have a great week. Y'all take care.